we're back. Took a week off. Again. My fault. My fault this time.
That's right.
I was on vacation, guys.
I was ready to go.
I had a lot of things to do. You know. I had people to see. I wasn't even on the same time zone. That's never an excuse for Josh, though. It's just an excuse for me.
Yeah, it only works for you, exactly. But that is all right. So tonight we are happy to welcome Mr. Scott Wynn to the show. So thank you for coming on with us, Scott.
What's up, man?
You bet. What's up, brothers?
You know, man, just living the dream, same as you, getting ready for Budapest, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, sir. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be amazing. So, Scott, why don't you start us off this evening with a little bit of your personal arm wrestling history for those folks out here that don't know you.
Yeah, I've been arm wrestling for a long time now. Since 79. I mean, really, since 4th grade. My brother started when he was in 10th grade, and I was in 4th grade. He's 6 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So I was arm wrestling all the kids in elementary school, beating everybody in the 6th grade and 4th grade with just a simple top roll. Mm-hmm. And then, more or less, watch my brother teach all kinds of guys, from Alan Fisher to Mark Gaines. Numerous of arm wrestlers. Eddie Arnold and my brother used to train together.
Okay.
And so I just pretty much watched them, and there was an arm wrestling table in the garage that was always available, so I'd arm wrestle all the kids in the neighborhood as well. And then NAWA, National Arm Wrestling Association, came out with a weight class basically for their son, Donnie Siegfried, who was, I think, 16 and I was 15. And they came up with a 115-pound weight class. And that was my first tournament, 1979.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was that arm wrestling or wrist wrestling at the time?
That was arm wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah, the old circle pads. He actually had lights and a buzzer on the
really
back then. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a little faulty because if the table shook, the buzzers and the lights would kind of go off.
It's like operation.
Yeah.
The table had a tilt function. Had a tilt function just like a pinball game.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish they would bring those back. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, there's tons of advancements they could do on those tables. I know that's weird, but all the money that they've spent on these leagues, and you think they would perfect the number one thing, the playing field, the arm wrestling table.
Seriously.
Yeah. They're changing the tables now all for the worst, for my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think that would be a good innovation. I've whined about that on this show plenty of times, that a light to start it or a buzzer or something other than ready go would be much more fair, and it would stop a lot of the false starts. Yeah,
even just a laser that kind of went on the hands that centered them up, so we're not sitting there thinking like, man, he's making me go further than I should be.
Yeah.
The laser would be right there dead center. That's where the knuckles would line up. Pretty simple.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that in a couple of international tournaments. I've seen the little laser, pointer coming from above that was identifying the exact center of the table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you're right. There's a lot of little innovations that could relatively easily be done that would make a big difference.
Yeah, they did the laser thing at the WAL Columbus in 2014. And,
really?
Yeah, and Alan showed up and moved the table so much after pulling that it wasn't centered anymore.
Right? Oh, man. Alan can destroy anything when it comes to an arm wrestling table, that's for sure.
Yeah, you need a hell of a platform.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be connected to the table. I was thinking some type of apparatus that went over the table that, not only for the laser, but for stationary cameras that could just be there at all times,
Mm.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it would be good, and then you could always check elbow fouls and stuff like that instantaneously.
Yeah.
Elbow what?
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that.
Well, I forgot. That'd be a little forgiving in that area. But they used that, they only did it the one time at PAL, but I thought it was great. Where they had Leonard reffing and then a camera on the two pads.
Yeah, they sit there, they say that it slows it down, but I mean, unless it's a super match, it's like run the next match, review the instant replay, and if it's a bad call, bring the match back up. No time wasted, you know?
Yeah, still action. A lot of action still.
Yeah, nonstop action.
Yeah, I mean, Zlotty's been doing the camera thing forever. So it's definitely, I mean, there's people trying it, and there's things you can pick apart and, keep the good and get rid of the bad type of stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, they're never going to be
going that way. Right, why not keep going that way?
Yeah, I mean, even all professional sports where we've seen reviews and know that they're still wrong, but it didn't change the call. Controversy is not a bad thing. It's just it can't be a regular thing where guys get away with it on a regular basis.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about the different leagues and the different rules, Scott? I mean, I know you're very active in WAL and WAF rule tournaments. Do you have a preference?
I mean, I think there's modifications that can be made to make it a lot simpler. Like, for instance, the wall pads are ridiculously padded, right? And it's helping because it's absorbing so much of the elbow that when you lift up, the pad's still underneath your arm.
Yep.
So there's not as many elbow fouls called for the lifting of the elbow, whereas WAF have these really thin pads, and any minute movement, I mean, it doesn't have to be an advantage, is a foul. And if they would just put a little bit denser padding in those pads so that when we lift to just make a small adjustment to not lose skin on our elbow, we wouldn't come off the pad. To me, that's a simple modification that could be done.
Yeah, those like the Mazurenko tables, those elbow pads, it's basically a chunk of wood with vinyl on it. They're a little rough.
Yeah, I was told that it's got outdoor carpeting underneath the vinyl.
Yeah.
That hurts my elbow after pulling on them. My elbow's literally sore from pulling on those things.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a bruised elbow from the pressure on the pad. We get enough of it inside. We don't need it on the outside too.
Yeah, that's the whole idea as a pad, right? Yeah.
That's an interesting point. That would actually stop quite a few of the elbow fouls. Yeah, because I mean, I do appreciate the tight roughing, but I mean, I like the idea of having the pad absorbing some of them. So, like as you were mentioning, the ones that don't provide any advantage don't get called. Because WAF, which you will see, Scott, in Budapest. I mean, if you can stick a piece of paper underneath their elbow, they're calling that as a foul.
Well, yeah, and the thing is too, like with elbow pads, like with the absorbing of the elbow, it's like if you go out of bounds in basketball, right? We don't have a centimeter wide line for the out of bounds. It's a big thick line, so it's not like there's a little bit of leeway here. It's the same thing with the pad. If it's a block of wood, if I even just make a little time adjustment, I might lift my elbow. There was no lifting of the elbow that happened. It's just the way it went because of the way the pad's built. So it's not like, there are these lines, right? So just a little bit of padding.
Yeah, I went to Brazil in 2012, WAF, and I got a foul called on me, and I was coming up to press the guy. I already had him in a position to beat him, and I was coming up to press him, and I think the ref just stopped by my movement that my elbow came up. There was 3 referees refereeing. I challenged the call, and I won it because my elbow never came up. I ended up losing the match because I had fouled by letting go. There was a new table at that year, and I had my elbow wrapped around the bottom edge of the table, and it was stuck. And I let go of the handle and got a half a foul. And then in the new match, I jump started, and I fouled myself out and lost the match. And I had won had he not called the foul that never happened, But instant replay, they reviewed it, and Leonard Harkless, it got overturned. And, it is what it is. But, I mean, there's just too many matches that are won for the weakest little fouls. And some of these guys are baiting. They don't care if they win on fouls or not. They just want to win. So they're a little too strict in my opinion, and they can make some adjustments that maybe, like we said with the pads. I think that would help, but and I like strict refs too. You know what I mean? I don't want to get cheated. And I'm not looking to cheat anybody, but they're doing the best they can. I suppose it's just a little too much for me.
Yeah, it's a nobody likes a gray area, right? So it makes it really impossible when you introduce gray areas for human beings who are reffing these things. Where it's like, man, we want people to call elbow fouls, but we don't really want people to call all of them. Like, where's the line? And then people go, okay, I get what you mean. And then they're up there, and at least once someone's gonna go, you screwed me.
Yeah.
You screwed me. And you're like, no, well, it was a foul, but it wasn't a foul.
Right. That's why I'm a fan of the running foul. Because if you foul and I still beat you, I decline. I don't want the foul. I won. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't care if you left your elbow or not.
There's already a standard set in that way in other sports, declining penalties. And I completely agree with you about running fouls. I love it. And, I've mentioned that to Leonard about the WAF adopting it. It's something they could consider because it does. You talk about things that slow the sport down. That slows the sport down when you're about to pin somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And they pull their elbow up, and then you got to do the whole thing over again, which is just pointless and stupid.
Absolutely. It's like the slip. It's an option. Really, you get to come up and professional slip, they call it. and it's like, what? Don't you arm wrestle? You grip up and hold on, And, half the sport is guys slipping. They don't even close their hands in the grip. And they say go, and now you're screwed because you're trying to hold on. And you get out of position, they regrip, and they beat you. It's just, it's a sad. That's a sad thing with this sport. Even for people watching, I hear the comments all the time on how ridiculous it looks, and people walking away just saying, "Oh my God, I'd get my arm broke if I did that."
Sure.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to call it a grip when you're floating your fingers like that. And my favorite quote was from Rob Vigent Jr., who goes, all these guys, they sit around with their tools and they train their hand like this, and then they get up there and they go, ready to go, huh? Right? It's like a ghost was there. Just you're sitting there like, what?
Oh, yeah. That's hilarious.
It is ridiculous. And, the percentage of slips that happen, unintentionally is probably like 2%.
Yeah. It's not that hard to determine.
Yeah, the unintentional ones hurt. The rest of them
hurt. Exactly. I tell people all the time, you smack yourself in the face, you were doing the right thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a ton of annoying things about the sport, and that's definitely one of them. I just wish everybody would hold on. And I like straps too, but when you really earn them, it's cool. But we all train in straps all the time because people are going to slip on you.
Yeah, I learned how to arm wrestle in the straps when it came down to do or die third match against Jake Smith for $500, and all he was doing pretty much was claiming up my hand, and he wanted to get in the straps, and I don't get in the straps often. I usually can hold on to my opponent's hand. I'll turn him back in if I have to before I'll slip. And with Jake, it was do or die, and it just clicked all of a sudden. I know how to arm wrestle in the straps, and I'll be glad to go in the straps with anybody now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way the playing field is. If you don't become a master at it, you're stupid because you get up in them, regardless of how well, no matter how big and strong your hand are, people can slip out of it. Yeah. So you're doing it the right way.
When it comes to the sport where somebody can, they can do something like that, pride gets in the way of fuck that, I ain't doing it. I ain't gonna learn it because it's just bullshit. And then you get put there and it matters, and you're like, shit, I should have trained that.
That was me. That was me 100%. Yeah. I don't know. It was only a couple of years at most, and we'd practice in straps. These guys would try to teach me, and I couldn't get it, and I was trying to use my hand too much.
Right.
But now I'm teaching guys how to arm wrestle in the straps, and I'm pretty sure I got it down now.
Yeah, I love it when someone's learning something in the straps and they're like, so wait, it feels like I'm not using my hand at all. You're like, right. Those two things that are digging into your hand, how about try using those?
Yeah.
Oh! Like a light bulb goes off. Yeah, you don't need your hand so much.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of it.
There's a lot of people saying hello to you, Scott, as we're talking. Sarah Bachman says she misses you, and
Oh man, I can't wait to see Sarah. I'll see you in Chicago, Sarah.
oh yeah,
I'll be there.
I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
especially after seeing the super match between her and Heidi, which was a lot of fun to watch. But Sarah, I know she's a little down on herself in terms of what she thinks she's lost, but she was pretty dominant in that match.
Yeah, she's a badass. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
So Ray Cote has an interesting question for you, Scott.
Coach, you crush. What up?
Which is actually there's a couple people talking about his question on here. And his question is, what do you think about unionizing the pullers and making the leagues pay up for the contracts that they're making folks sign?
I mean, as far as unionizing, I mean, we do need to unite as arm wrestlers. I think like in Little League, if we all paid in a fee, a yearly fee, we still pay at tournaments, and all the money goes back in to that organization. I think it's a great idea. I think that we could, as a unit, we could do wonders. And Little League, Major League, amateurs, pro. I think that's the way to go. I think it's a great avenue. I know these leagues. We got Robert Drake from UAL. We got WAL. These guys spent. I hear these astronomical numbers, and I'm just like, I work in the motion picture industry. I could have made a TV show for a fraction of how much these guys have spent. And I got drawings of a stage. I got a whole TV show that I got all planned out that I know would be successful. Unfortunately, I don't have the money they have.
Well, we have Hand Control Worldwide has made I think $15 on YouTube, so we'll be happy to
we're up to
finance that project for you.
We're up to 1470 right now.
Hey, that's a start. Imagine, a couple 100,000 arm wrestlers thrown in that,
Now, we've talked about that exact idea before, Scott, in the sense, not for this particular subject, but in the sense of, funding, regular testing at the major events, regardless of league. Like, if there was an arm wrestling, like you're mentioning, some kind of, organization that was across all the different leagues that we have, and everybody paid $25 or $30 a year, and then that money would be used to test at the major events like the Nationals and WA finals and that kind of stuff. But also used for things like that.
Yeah, and not only that, like at the end of the year, we have a arm wrestlers banquet where awards are given away not only to arm wrestlers, referees, other organizations for putting on their events. If we're all linked up and we have like a kind of a NASCAR type of point system where if all the other organizations were to be members of the United organization, then every tournament you went to that was, United would count as in the point system. So that way you would still want to go to everybody's tournament because you're trying to accumulate points for first, second, and third. The wall system's ridiculous on the ranking system, but something that obviously first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever would have a points value. So at the end of the year, you have the top arm wrestler.
Yeah. There's a lot of people talking, basically saying they agree with you and mentioning, like you mentioned, Little League and stuff like that, and Ray just brought up that powerlifters pay a yearly membership fee, and there's a lot of organizations that do that.
Right.
Yeah. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys do that, the martial art, like judo guys do that. So, it's something we should start trying to organize. And
I think so.
Start doing positive stuff with it. And there's people saying it would be nice if, there was a way to cover medical expenses and all that kind of stuff. And that Paul Lynn is pointing out that's a lot of money you're talking about, but you never know. Down the road a few years, if the ESPN stuff continues to take off, who knows? As a matter of fact, somebody just asked a question. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, Wayne, I wanted to ask you, Scott, what do you think the sport's going to be in 5 to 10 years? Better, same, worse?
Man, it's hard to say. If we do something like we're talking about, it'll be way better. If we let these organizations like WAL, my opinion would be it's wishy-washy. Right now we're on a roller coaster ride, and and we're riding it, those guys could bail out any moment. You know what I mean? They're not successful at what they're doing, and right now, I mean, I'm not trying to put them down because I'm thankful that they're doing anything at all.
Yep.
I'm bummed Robert Drink is kind of not doing anything at all. But they don't need to be competitive. They need to work together. We're not that, it's not that successful yet. And if they work together, I think it could be huge. Then everybody would benefit from it, 5 years from now, I don't know. I think there'll be another organization. Hopefully UAL comes back and puts together a better plan to be more successful as far as not wasting money in areas that could be used in other areas.
Yeah, it just feels like the pie itself is small. We always talk about like who wants the piece of the pie and all this kind of stuff. Well, the whole pie is pretty fucking small, man. It's like let's take you take a piece of the cupcake. It's like it's not enough for like even the cupcake's not enough. I want another one. You know what I mean? So
that's why they're trying to eat the whole thing. You know what I mean? Right. It's like while having tournaments on the same dates as some of these organizations that have been around for a long time, and now they're losing support because the U.S. Championships in Oregon with Bill Collins is this Saturday. I would love to go.
Yeah.
But I'm going to Chicago the following week, so it's not smart, you know what I mean? It's not a good choice.
We've asked them about that, and they've said that they're going to start coordinating, their major events with other people's major events, and it hasn't happened yet. But I mean, it's a stupid dilution because John's right. It's not a giant group of people to begin with, and like you, we want to go to certain specific events that are big and we know run well, that usually have decent prize money. Plus, we want to see our friends and promoters that we like and support their stuff. And but if you make a decision to participate in WAL, you have to do a certain number of their events, and some of them are mandatory, so you don't have really a choice. So I mean, but there's enough weekends in a year for all that stuff to happen, so we can still do them. If there's even the tiniest bit of coordination, that would be solved.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to communicate.
Yeah, and it's a big country. I mean, like, it just feels like also that the qualifications happen half the year. It feels like from November-ish to June is WAL season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the problem is that there's things like the Arnold in the U.S. Open and all these great tournaments.
Nationals. Yeah, the Nationals was back to back. I arm wrestled in the Nationals, which by the way I've been sick since then. I'm just now finally getting better. I got to sit back, but and then the following weekend was Wall.
Yeah.
So it was back to back. My elbow was killing me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and for some miraculous way, my left pulled off the best win of my life, left-handed against Eric Woosen.
I saw that.
He's pounded me for the last 2 years, but yeah,
he's watching right now.
That wasn't right on. Eric's an awesome guy. Guy's his hand and power is ridiculous.
I have to agree.
To beat him was definitely a highlight in my career.
There's a whole bunch of questions coming in here, man. Let me see if I can filter through some of these. Well, I mean, there's a lot of all right. Well, we're talking about WL, so there's a million questions about WL and your thoughts about how they're doing stuff, and the running extra late qualifiers to get the last few people in, making adjustments to the rankings themselves. I mean, there's unlimited topics about WL that we can discuss.
The WAL, their whole rankings thing, first of all, is so whacked that, like, I got lucky. I mean, there's these bracket systems that are being used that everybody thinks are the greatest thing. Well, first of all, I've been arm wrestling for a long time. Okay, we use the old school brackets. They work the best. When you're at an even weight class, everybody's got a match, right?
Sure.
Nobody should be getting a bye. Usually, it's if there's an odd guy, they'll get a bye.
Yep.
Now, like at the Avalon for Wall, I got 2 byes right off the bat, left-handed. I was like waiting for him to call my name. I was like, I know they called my name in the roster list, And then finally they called me up for my match. Well, those buys screwed me because normally a buy puts you up, basically continues in the winner bracket.
Right.
Right? Well, it wasn't counting for wins, so I got 2 rounds without being able to accrue 2 wins on my record. See what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand. So you're not getting any points from it.
Getting 0, and then I beat Eric Rusin. He's ranked number 3 in the Wall World Rankings, right? And it did nothing for me. We tired each other out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And we lost, I think we both lost our next 2 matches, And and I ended up taking 4th place left-handed. It didn't mean anything. Nothing. It's like, that should be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th in that type of tournament. I think they placed all the way down to 8th for $30, which is kind of lame too, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever place you took, unless you went, 5-0, then it didn't help you because everybody gets 2 losses if they don't go undefeated and win the tournament. And the losses are what hurt you.
We've talked about this probably on every show for the last, I would say, 2 months, because it's a subject that, is really driving a lot of passion in the sport. I mean, stuff that Luke did last week and before that, the people...
Yeah, you know what? Let me say something real quick. If Luke didn't throw the tantrum he did, you know what I mean? As bad as it may have looked, and, people are, like, talking a bunch of shit about that, nothing would have changed. He made them change their ranking system. Had he not done that, they wouldn't have done squat about that. They passed, I don't know who, certain guys got like a little bit of favoritism, I think, and they said, yeah, you guys have advanced to the finals, Had Luke not done that, then they wouldn't have done squat about it.
He sure as shit, even if it was an ugly way, he got people talking about it.
Yeah.
He did get people talking about it, and I actually am an advocate
it was
of the system. I know it's like in its infancy, and I do believe in the. Paul Wynn's posting this right now about the algorithm, and I'm familiar with ELO systems from other sports, and I think that the only issue with us is the lack of data. And after 3 years of matches, I think people will be happy with it, but it's obviously, there's a lot of issues with it right now in terms of the inequity of the rankings. From what we all know, we basically have a general idea of who the top 10 are, with a little variance here and there, but we certainly know. And when you see some names that are above others, when you clearly they can't beat people that they're above, obviously that's going to piss people off. Yeah. And so then they're in a bind. If you're gonna be 100% behind the data system, how do you make adjustments to that without pissing everybody off? And that's not possible. And they say they were working on it before Luke had the tantrum, but obviously there's no way for us to know one way or the other. What just happened? My lights went off. But
that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm having a rave over here. But Luke was pissed off for a reason. I think everybody knows he has a reason. Then you can argue about how he handled it or whether or not it had a positive and negative impact. But you're right; it definitely got people talking.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I don't know. So there's a lot of people bringing up the same thing you brought up about the UAL being gone, and that the leagues are driven by a person. And that person at the end of the day has to make some sort of money in order to maintain it. And the question is, how much money are they making with the ESPN deal? And if they're not making money, how much longer is the WAL going to be around? Because they obviously are spending a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. They have ESPN. excuse me. ESPN coverage, which is great. You know what I mean? We can't knock it. Personally, their presentation and how they format the show itself, that's not how I would do it. I think it could be better. Arm wrestling is not about a bunch of guys that look like they're on roids, screaming and yelling, at the top of their lungs when they win a match. There's more passion to that. So it's like. It's a give and take. You know what I mean? I'm not going to knock it because they got it on TV. So kudos to them. But listen to some of the other arm wrestlers. Reach out. Don't think that you know what you're doing, and if it's not successful, like I said, reach out. Ask some of the other arm wrestlers that have been around a long time. Do some research.
Yeah, I think tournament arm wrestling is always going to be a real struggle for TV. It's just really hard to have, even if you take 12 people, to have 12 people to focus on and understand how it's working and what's going on and how this is happening and how that happened. It's just always going to be very difficult, and you're never going to have a true 1 through 12 rank when it comes to tournament anything. Double elimination. Right. We all know that. You take 12 great arm wrestlers and have them compete every other weekend for a year, and you're going to have 26 different outcomes. It's just the way it goes.
Probably, yeah.
That's a tournament, right? I mean, so, I don't know. I don't know if it's a one-on-one format that needs to be changed to, because UFC was tournament-based at first, but it really didn't. It was really, really underground at that point.
It was crazy.
Once they started going to one-on-ones, people could start getting behind some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like the four-man bracket, round robin. 4 guys in their bracket, and all of them arm wrestle each other, and the guy has the best record is first, and so on down to 4th place. Mm-hmm. And you could do that, let's just say it was a TV show, and you could do that in each weight class, right? Whether it was every day or every week. I mean, I would say 5 days a week. You have 4 new guys. Winner of that weight class goes on to a final. The next weight class, same thing. Next day, 4 new guys. Winner goes on to the finals. Eventually, you're going to have, 13 shows, we'll say. Have 13 finalists to go to a championship for the big money. Out of those 4, you have let's say first place takes $1,000, goes on to the finals. Second place wins $750. Third place wins $500. Third place walks out of there with $250. Fourth place walks out of there with $250. That's $2,500 total for that weight class, right? Mm. And then let's say the grand finals is like $25,000 to the winner. Out of the 13 guys, and places down as well. Over the Top had sponsors from, I think 7th place, 8th place, I think was a television set, if I remember right. So they had all kinds of sponsors that were giving products as well. Mm-hmm. And Marvin Cohen was pretty much, the man behind, all the product placement in the movie as well as the tournament, and it's crazy to me to think that WAF hasn't got a sponsor that can pay us money or give us real gold medals, real silver medals, real bronze medals. You know what I mean? We travel all these medals, and sometimes, like Malaysia, I thought those medals were weak. They were small. My Brazilian medal I like better than the Malaysian medal. And I had a bronze medal, and I seen
Skype
gold medal.
How could you?
And I was like, I was kind of just, and the fact that they.
You're saying all these smart things, Scott. We just lost you, just for. Yeah, when you were saying the smartest things is when we lost you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Skype just goes in and out. That's why we have this high-tech show. So, but I think we got most of what you said.
I was talking about the medals.
Yeah, I got almost all of it. Yeah, okay. And I think you're right that. That is actually the problem. Is WAF is the biggest thing outside of the United States, and everybody focuses on it. Here, it's not the biggest thing, and it's a real disconnect. And WAL, it would be obvious for them to connect up with WAF because they could provide a huge. Just imagine if the WAL was a qualifier for Worlds, it would be a bigger deal. More people would go. There's a lot of things that could happen. It's probably all fantasy, but it goes back to what you were saying earlier about the lack of connection between leagues.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be huge. If they could intertwine, that'd be great.
because it'll be better for everybody. Because the WL has ESPN, and nobody has that anywhere in the world right now. I mean, so it's just like, and John is 100% right. I mean, what drove the UFC and boxing is the individual characters.
For once,
for once. Don't get used to it, buddy. Yeah. But we root for our favorite fighters. It's like, I want to watch arm wrestling, but you really want to watch this particular guy because for whatever reason you like him.
Yeah.
And we all have our favorite fighters, and that's when you really start getting into stuff, is when you get attached to certain players in general. And you're right that is missing from the tournament format because it does change year to year, and you don't see each person enough to really get to know them well enough to want to see them come back.
Yeah. I mean, arm wrestlers got such huge egos. It's kind of ridiculous that we don't support each other a lot more than we do. We pick and choose. But we should all be supporting each other no matter what. If it's in a positive way, anything to promote the sport is a good thing. Again, back to the rules. We want to make arm wrestling look legit. I watched a match the other day with Anthony Snook and shoot, I forget. I think it was Huck.
Oh, Nick Huck, yeah.
Sure.
Nick Huck, yeah. And, nothing towards Anthony because these rules aren't really specified. But, on top of the table, you're not allowed to go past center point, right? But under the table, there's no limits, you know what I mean? You can push off your opponent's leg, on the other side of the table, which can intervene with them at some point. You might end up getting intertwined. Anthony's legs were completely... His feet were underneath his opponent's. And he's literally hanging off his arm. I call that the tree hanger, But it's crazy. I mean, that should be a rule. You should not be able to go past center point with your legs underneath the table as well. That makes common sense to me. It just doesn't... To be able to put your feet anywhere and push off the other side of the table, it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? People are like, can they really do that? You're like, yeah. They question us pushing off our own side of the table, but, that's legal. It should be. It is.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about before, too, on the show where, arm wrestling isn't just I get up there and I just go, huh, and just smash down, right? When it comes to the top guys and it comes to the top skilled athletes, this is more of a martial art than anything. Like there's a lot of angles, there's a lot more up there
tons of strategy.
What you can see. Every person who just watches it goes, "Oh yeah, that looks cool. I want to try it out." And then they step up to the table and they're just like, "This is the most awkward thing. I never pictured to be like this." And when you have somebody watch and you see this an elbow fly up, come back down the pad and they pin and they say winner, people have questions. And it's really hard for when people have questions that you can't answer. If somebody says, you grab a hold, ready, go, and you follow the side and you pin them. Nice, clean match, everything's great. Someone says, can you use your body like that? And you can say, well, yes, you can. And, it might look like it's not fair, but, if you can't hold your arm, if you can't hold your body up, it's not going to do any good. And people will go, oh, okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining that.
Right.
But if you go, so what's up with that? It looked like it was way on the other guy's side of the table when they started the match. Like, is that okay? And you go, no, it's not okay. But they did do that on TV, though. So I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
And they go, this is a joke.
WAL and their, I like their starts, but obviously, after the first 10 matches, the referees they're just trying to start the matches, and everybody's starting before they're carving in. And it's just a lack of control over that.
That's the one thing that just...
I have to ask the referee to do that.
I wish... I totally agree with you. I love their rules, too. And I don't understand why they're not enforced. I mean, why...
How hard is it just to take 2 seconds to say, close your thumbs, close your hands, and make sure the wrists are straight? Right. They're going to take that long. And if they're not straight, foul them, right. Or... obviously make them regrip again, but
treat it like a ref's grip. Your worst setting if you move, it's a foul. I mean, simple as that. And then everybody, as you said, everybody's like,
come on. And you want to know why? It's because one, it's supposed to be fast paced, really quick, which anything quick is not going to be as good. We all know that. So that's just the way that goes. And then two, the whole number one argument for all the running fouls, all this other stuff, is that we don't want to see matches end on fouls. So guess what? We're not going to foul you if you carve in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they're doing. You know, it's funny because I got certified to be a referee the day of the Avalon, along with the other referee that refereed with RZA. And, you know, Bart emphasized on making sure that the top knuckle was the biggest thing, was making sure that the top knuckle didn't get covered up when they gripped up. I mean, it happened to me twice, and I said something about it as it was happening, and the ref didn't do anything about it.
Don't move, go.
Don't move, go. He covers my knuckle, and I'm like, wait a second, and then he turned around and did it again in the second match. But yeah, it's kind of hard for them to catch that too, because they're saying close your hand, and instantaneously, you know, they're saying go, not ready, just straight close your hands, go.
Yeah.
And it's so fast that, again, we're asking them to do too much. You know, it's you got to help the referee out a little bit, let them set the match up. I think, you know, to me, watching and hearing, like they have the big screen set up at the Avalon, which I think is huge for any tournament, because that brings everybody intimately into the match. They can, hopefully they can hear it too, but if they can just see up close what's going on, they're more a part of the match than looking from a distance, wondering, why are they starting in a strap right now? They didn't even arm wrestle. Oh, they decided to start in a strap, and we didn't know, but now we're watching it, and we're still trying to figure out why they went in a strap in the first place, you know. But I think that the setup is crucial. I think that's where, to me, TV is, like, if you watch the old baseball or NFL arm wrestling shows that were on, that Tony Celeste put on, sure, you were up on the match, so it was great. When you can hear the two guys talking to each other, I think that's the entertainment right there, you know. And if they showed more of it, I think more guys might be a little bit more verbal. You know, it doesn't have to go, you know, past the line, but I think it'd be cool, you know, I go up there and, you know, we're both kind of talking smack to each other before the match starts, you know, and that way, if the TV people are watching, they're going to pick a side. They're either going to like you or not like you. So they're either going to want you to win or they're going to want your ass to get beat, you know, because you're a character right there. They're getting to know you a little better. Not just seeing two guys go up from a distance, see some shit go on, now all of a sudden they're putting a strap on. It's confusing and it's not entertaining at all. It gets boring real quick, you know.
Leonard Harkless just chimed in saying that he feels that the WAL rules as written and as implemented make it almost impossible for a ref to do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, it's very 100%. Difficult. It's very difficult on refs, and also it's in a way it's almost harder on a ref who has good skill, because really all the skill in a ref is in the setup. And really, when it comes to a good ref and it comes to the WAL setup, you know, not bashing the WAL setup, but it takes all the skill set of a referee out of it, because it's really by design supposed to. That's what it seems like to me. So
yeah, I agree 100%.
So if you had the best referee in the world, why? Why would you? Well, you know, what's he gonna see? What's he gonna correct? It's not within the rules to do that. Other than foul someone out if they don't obey. Yeah,
you know, it's almost, I hate to say it, but it's almost like, you know, again, I'm not bashing Wall.
No.
I mean, it almost seems like the whole underground sport, you know, the rat, they chose like a rat or something as a logo, that they're almost like truly trying to represent us like Game of Arms. Like we're a bunch of knuckleheads that show up to some bandit warehouse with baby in hand and a beer in the other hand with money, you know. Like, really? And crazy that, you know, that show was successful in my opinion because of cinematography that they did, and that it was great, and the guys were great too. But again, it was Wall rules. You know, I watched some of the filming, And thank God they edited out a lot. I remember when Luke beat Cobra Rhodes, and Luke's elbow wasn't even down on the pad yet, and the referee says, "Go." Luke beats Cobra, and Cobra says to the referee, "Next time, can you bring a jar of Vaseline?" And it was that bad. It was crazy, But a lot of people like that show. Like I said, I work in the movie industry, and I got grips that would tell me, they were watching the show, and they knew who Travis was, and I was like, no shit, really? They're like, yeah, man. They're asking me, do you know? I'm like, yeah, I know all those guys, Mm-hmm. And yeah, the show was successful, and I think it still could be, I really do.
I agree. I'm sad that they haven't, at least not yet, released the half of the season that they did film. It feels like there's at least a market amongst us. We'd all love to see it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about what you're saying, Scott, because you're right. There is like to the outsider, like what we do is like underground. It's strange. It's like a niche thing that's like weird and bizarre. And so the Game of Arms thing's definitely played up that aspect, and I think it was the best. I mean, the most watched of all the reality shows that AMC was doing, other than the Talking Dead one they had. So I mean, obviously, it did resonate with people, and so to a certain extent, WAL is probably not being stupid and trying to emulate aspects of it, or WWE aspects as well. But I mean, the question is, when you think about what WL's goal is it going to be like, World's Strongest Man? I mean, there's not a lot of strongman competitors either, but that show's huge. Everybody loves it. So are they trying to do the same thing to make arm wrestling on ESPN something that people want to watch, even though the sport itself is not necessarily being enlarged or necessarily improved by it?
Right.
So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. But like you, I'm a big supporter of the WL. I mean, we do criticize them when we feel like they need to be criticized, but I do think what they're doing is great. And I wish that they would take, your advice, Scott, and the advice of other people that have been pulling and involved in large-scale events over the course of decades, that there are some basic things that they could do that would dramatically improve the experience, both for us, the arm wrestlers, and also for the viewers. And it's like, people are just throwing this stuff out there. So if they were listening, they could be picking it up and making these improvements. And at the very least, they could call people like you up and say, I mean, you can imagine if they brought 9 or 10 people and sat you guys down on the table and just had a long discussion about it, they'd probably learn a great deal about what would make their show better for everybody and make some of the arm wrestlers, some of the best in this country, that don't participate in WL because they were, either personally disrespected by them or don't like the rules. I mean, Corey Miller, Herman Stevens, guys like that. Obviously Brzezink's not pulling anymore. I don't know if WL has anything to do with that, if it's the injuries, but there's a lot of big names that aren't in there. Michael Todd. So it's like, it would be nice to have everybody involved in the biggest league.
Yeah, I mean, that and their weight classes. I mean, their weight classes are ridiculous. I'm a 176er. I'm still trying to put on 10 pounds, to try to make 195 so that I'm at peak performance. Guys are dropping from 220 to make 195.
Right.
And there's no in between. It's such a big gap. And then you got guys, under 165. And some of these guys are, like Vaskin. He's a badass. I think he could do well. And he's outweighed. He's out of his class because, he would have to put on 10 extra pounds, which he's not a 165er, but that's what we're doing. The guys that really love the sport and want to be competitive are, we're going out of our way to try to be competitive, and we're supporting. I'm supporting Wall by entering their tournaments. I don't have to go to Chicago. I shouldn't have to go to Chicago. That brings us back to the qualifications. The way they did it the year before was way better. Trying to make us go to more tournaments, I don't see how they're benefiting at all from it, really. They don't charge a fortune for us to enter. Why they don't give us free T-shirts to do free advertising for them, I'm not sure what their idea is behind that and making us pay for them, because, that's just free advertisement for them.
Yeah, that's a basic standard for everybody. You're right. That's a
Yeah.
good point. I'm going to bring that up when they come on the show one of these days. We had Ben on for 15 minutes, which was really fun, but I'm hoping eventually to convince the big guy Kaplan to come on and talk with us. But I'll keep you posted on that one.
Yeah, I know what I'll do. I'll be like, arm wrestling, go.
Yeah, arm wrestling.
Right.
So speaking of that, Scott, because we have questions about this stuff, obviously for you, we get it for every guest about like your training and how often you're on the table and what kind of weight stuff you do. And I mean, we actually talked about a match you had with Mike West 2 weeks ago when we had Mike West on the show, because you guys had by far the longest, most awesome match of the day at USAF.
Marathon, man.
Yeah, well, both of you were, man. I swear to God, you were in the middle of the table on that hook for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I should have just top rolled them. I don't know what I was thinking. I got a bad habit of letting the guy determine whether they want a hook or. I prefer to go outside all day long, you know. But I had to learn to arm wrestle on a hook early on because back to Donnie Siegfried from NAWA, it's Larry Siegfried's son. Mm-hmm. He used to always challenge me. Donnie got one win on me, and that was it for the rest of his life. I owned him after that. And Larry would say, well, if he would go into a hook with them. So I started hooking at, 15, 16 years old. And so I learned how to arm wrestle. I consider myself pretty well-rounded.
Easy for you to
when
say.
It comes to techniques, But, I think you got to be smart on the table, Anybody can be beat, I don't care if you're Todd Hutchings. If I get your wrist flopped back, Todd, you ain't getting it back. I know how to keep it. I know how to pin a guy like that. So, it's a great sport. I love it. I love the sport because of the fact that, I'm 52 years old and I'm still competitive, and as far as training goes, I suck. I'm not disciplined. I've had a gym membership at LA Fitness when it was Bowley's, and it's only $14 taken out of my account, and I went once in 2 years. I have specific exercises I do, like the Country Crush is the number one handle I use. That thing's ridiculous, not just because Ray's my buddy, but that he came to me when he first brought that thing out, and I was like, shit, man, I don't want anybody to know about this thing. And that handle's a great, it's a great handle. And, Ryan Pitts has come out with some really cool shit, which is really cool, too, is the fact that it opened up this avenue for these people to start making these products for us that can make us better, Some are more affordable than others. But, I do band workout. My number one training is pull-ups. If I'm at work, I'll find somewhere to do some pull-ups, chin-ups, whatever. Wide grip, anything that I can train my back and my shoulders. A lot of people don't realize how much back strength is in arm wrestling. So I work my back a lot. I don't really work my chest, and I'm not real strict. Most of my training is on the table. We have our practice weekly. I try to go every other week now because it's too much on my arm, and it seems like there's usually a tournament anyways. So my arm's still recuperating. Like we just had a huge practice Sunday at Christian Cubba Hugs, and there was like 30 guys there. Nice. And I just got a cortisone shot in my right arm on Friday.
Ouch.
So yeah, but guess what? My arm don't hurt no more, man. I'm stoked about that. So I just worked my left, and my left's super sore from doing that stupid King's move. And that's because I got a pinched nerve that made me change the way I pull left-handed, because I got atrophy in my left tricep. So I changed the dynamics of the way I pull. But
you just answered a question, though, because somebody asked earlier in the night, which I forgot to ask you, what do you think of the King's move? So now we know.
Yeah, the King's move to me is I think your shoulders definitely can't go below parallel to the table.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think at any time you should be allowed to be that low. And I also think that what would change that is if we had to pin our opponent to the pad. You know, it's like we have these pads on the table for that specific reason. And 90% of the time, the pads never get touched. It's a parallel pin. And that's partly because they changed the tables. They made them offset for, I'm not sure what they thought. Like, there's not less broken arms because the tables are off, because the pads are offset. Straight across is the way I think they should be. I think it would change the playing field. You know, I think we'd be able to pin our opponents to the pads more. I think that you should have to be at least in line with the pad to have a parallel pin. You can't pull your opponent clear over to your side of the table and pin him next to your body.
Yeah.
Nowhere lined up or near the pad. That's bullshit. That's not arm wrestling. You know what I mean? It's just, whether it's European style, I'm not sure, again, why they changed it, but bring it back to straight across. I know Leonard's talked about bringing it back to straight across. I think that's the way I used to arm wrestle. You know, for decades.
You know, I've trained on both. I've trained on both, and I've never felt any safer on an angled. You know what I mean? I never felt any difference, really. And honestly, you could probably make the elbow pad wider and avoid some elbow fouls if it was in the center.
No one's ever come up with that idea. We don't need a bigger pad. Okay,
smaller pad.
I think the 7x7.
I'm just trying to be right.
When I started, it was like 5x5. It was about that big, and it was right in the middle, and there was no moving it left or right.
Is that where it was pitted?
Yeah.
Where it dropped into the surface of the table? Yeah, I pulled on that before, and I didn't like it, but I only did it one time, and it was the first time, and
it's tough.
I liked it, but I didn't like it because it was
pin pads were about that tall too, so it was it's about 1.5 inches lower than they are right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've done wrist wrestling. You know, I wrist wrestled when I was 17. I entered a tournament in Oregon, and it was Petaluma organization, and I was, like I said, I was 17 years old. I was in 11th grade, and I lived with my uncle and my aunt at that time in Klamath Falls, Oregon. And the tournament was at OIT, Oregon Institute of Technology, and I ended up taking first place, went on the local news there, Scott Singoli. And it was funny. I made my uncle really proud, but it was the first time ever competing where you gripped up in the middle. And it was, I had practice on that type of table because my brother arm wrestled Petaluma for years. And I don't like it, and they eventually switched it to the, handles, and then also the L's, the pads were kind of hard on your elbow too. But it was an experience. The one you talked about, I've done, and that was different. And then the old donut pads, the circle pads, they were cool, but unfortunately you had a rim around it that it basically made your arm teeter-totter. Like if you pinned somebody, your arm could teeter-totter up and made your elbow look like it came up, or vice versa. It could teeter-totter the other way, which that's the only time I really had a really bad injury to my arm. I tore my tendons against Hugo Elizondo, and it tore my tendons when it teeter-tottered over the pad and he pressed me, and I heard him stretch. And I couldn't straighten my arm for 6 months, but they heal thicker and stronger, so it wasn't completely a bad thing. But Hugo Elizondo was a pretty badass arm wrestler. Rest in peace. He passed away a few years back, but his brother was Rene Elizondo, and he was married to Janet Jackson for 8 years.
Wow.
Oh.
And
I didn't know that.
And she actually, she not participated, but witnessed some of our practices, and it was pretty cool.
Did she ever arm wrestle?
She never arm wrestled that I seen, but I know that Hugo's brother taught her how to dance, and I learned how to dance from the two of them too. Hence make the moves.
See, if I had known that, we could have planned a little dance party for the end of this episode.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was hoping to make it to the finals at the Avalon, but Scott Partington ended up going up there and doing a little striptease dance without stripping.
Well, that's one thing to be grateful for.
Well, at least one Scott got there.
Yeah. Oh, he did awesome, man.
Partington's an animal.
Yeah, he did that master run for his money. Yeah.
So you're excited about Budapest, Scott?
Yeah, I am, dude. I saw the pictures posted up the other day, and I'm a little leery about traveling to another country, and hopefully, some shit don't go down by the time we go there. As far as any stupid stuff going on with wars, but yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I'm going to train hard for it. See if I can't bring home a gold medal.
That's my plan too, man. Hopefully bring home 2.
Right? That'd be cool, man.
Yeah.
So what class are you pulling out there, Scott?
I had to go the 199s because I'm doing the Grandmasters, right? 50 and over.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I only weighed 180 at that tournament. And so, like I said, I'm trying to get up to 195. And so I'll try to maintain that weight if I can get up to that. But I struggle at putting weight on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It seems so easy for everybody else.
You guys, it's easy for me, believe me.
Yeah.
I walked by those cupcakes you were talking about earlier, and I gained 3 pounds. It's that easy.
Goes right to my
I'm
hips.
psyched about it. I'm trying to get John to qualify and come one of these years, too, because I think he would do really well there, especially if he killed himself and cut to like 154. He would be a beast.
Yeah, you do well, dude.
That'd be a skeleton at 154. I'd do it,
yeah.
though.
You only have to be 154 for 1 minute.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds
it truly is the Olympics of arm wrestling. There's no doubt about WAF and the showing, and just there's nothing like it. Brazil wasn't the best experience. You guys probably heard a little bit about Brazil, but that was unfortunate. But I look forward to Budapest being a better experience.
Oh, I can't wait. Budapest is a world-class city. I have a couple of friends who live there, and I was talking to Simon about he knows the guy who's putting it together very well, and he says he's a top-level guy, and that he's expecting an amazing experience. So that's what I'm planning on, man.
Good.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So I'm psyched. So, Scott, we kept you on here like an hour and a half almost. I don't know if there's anything we didn't get to that you wanted to chat about before we let you go.
Yeah, nothing I can think offhand. Like I said, unity with the arm wrestlers, I think, is the way to go. It doesn't have to be union, per se.
Right.
It ain't like that. It ain't about that. It's about us coming together and making our sport what it should be. And utilizing, like I said, I'm in the motion picture industry. I know a lot. I've had guys approach me that are cameramen that we talked about making the TV show. So these guys almost volunteer their time, and if it's successful, we got a TV show. You know what I mean?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, man. I'm telling you. we can make it happen. I really believe it. There's plenty of us out there, and there's nothing like the arm wrestling camaraderie. Our arm wrestling family is the best. I was just telling some other people about how I know guys in Spain. I know guys all over the world that I could hit them up if I were to go to Spain, and because of arm wrestling, they'll take me in and they'll show me around. It's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
You're 100% right about that, man. It's a really good part about our sport. And I know a lot of sports have some camaraderie, but it seems like it's one thing that people are very consistent about in arm wrestling. Everybody feels like it is, not that we don't compete with each other and all that kind of stuff, but it is really a family environment. And it's awesome.
Yeah, no, we go up to the table. We can be combatants, but afterwards, usually one or the other is buying the other guy a beer and talking about their match. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
Good shit.
Well, this has been awesome, Scott. I really appreciate you coming on, man. I learned a lot. It's a fun conversation, and I think based on the amount of conversation you created in the thread on this video, which you can go and read later, I think you'll have fun checking it out. But people really enjoyed listening to you, man.
Well, right on. Very cool. I'm glad they put an ear out, and hopefully we'll make something of it. Let's pull together, guys.
I'm on board with that putting together some kind of, cross league federation. I think that's something that we absolutely should do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning into our show, and we'll see you next week.
Right on. Peace, brothers. Right.
Later, dude.
Later.